Pseudo-Legendary Pokemon, known as the 600 Club in Japan, a group of Pokemon defined by their powerful 600 base stat total, and most are part Dragon type. So given it is Smoggest, we're going to take a look at what a Dragon Pseudo-Legendary of every type might look like. Hey everyone, Brandon here. So we have about 7 or 8 types covered by previous pseudos, depending on if you count Hisui and Gudra in that lineup. If you don't, here is the Acarane line from Mike Ryan's Luika region, who worked with JJmons. Acarane is based on Akar, an Egyptian deity of the underworld and a personification of the horizon. It is either represented as twin lions or a mighty guardian dragon. So Michael included elements of both in their designs. It also has elements of Egyptian royalty, hence the rain part of its name. This line's hardened body has made them perfect for defending the royalty of Luika, even going so far as to protect their tombs. For the poison types, we have Salavino, Mortero, and Thanamorte from Dark and Windy. These three are based on the Longma, which was basically a Chinese Pegasus with the scales of a dragon. Where its poison typing comes in is through its other partial inspiration of a Komodo dragon, whose bite is venomous both due to the venom gland in its lower jaw and the fact that their saliva hosts a myriad of harmful bacteria. This line's scales are incredibly toxic, flaking off at times, causing cases of intense pain, paralysis, and muscle spasms. Onto the rock type, we have Babygon, Zigguron, and Mardukan from Fakemon's Kashian region. These three are based on the ancient city of Babylon, its god Marduk, the mythical dragon said to be their servant Mushusu, and the lapis-covered Ishtar Gate. The gate itself had depictions of the Mushusu and symbolized Marduk, so this mixture of concepts is very well done. Zigguron has the additional inspiration of a ziggurat, which were massive rectangular structures built in ancient Mesopotamia. This line's hardened scales provide great protection from the harsh environment in which they hail from. They will defend the weak until their last breath, which makes them great guardians of ancient cities. Next up for the Psychic type, we have Aegon, Astragon, and Terrestragon from Inua Continent. These Pokemon tap into the more cosmic side of the Psychic type, with all of them being a mixture of dragons, aliens, and meteors. The first two stages of this line have a shell constructed of meteorites, and can move at extraordinary speeds using their psychic power. Terrestragon's psychic power is strong enough that its mere presence is said to cause crippling migraines. And you'll give me a crippling migraine if you don't hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. So please go do that. The Tylenol isn't working. For the Fairy type, we have Pixme, Aquarius, and Dracampus from Tubs-AZ's Agoros region. This line presents an interesting case as the first two stages aren't actually the dragon type, but water instead. Obviously, this line is based on seahorses, but it is also based on sea nymphs and mermaids, presenting a more beautiful and feminine pseudo, as opposed to many of the others that are more hardened and edgy. Dracampus additionally draws inspiration from the hippocampus and the many sea serpents of Greek mythology. This line can be found around the Agorian Sea, with their shimmering scales able to blind their opponents from sheer beauty, and with even one being worth a small fortune. On to the electric type, we have Dusmy, Egohis, and Agorgon from Elite Four. This line is based around Medusa, egocentrism, and the evolution of drag culture. Really putting the drag in dragon. Dusmy is an attention seeker and wants praise for its beauty, but when it evolves into Egohis, it hides itself away behind a fake head-like tail used to distract or blind opponents. And finally, upon evolving into a Gorgon, its glowing colors thrive. Its mere glance can paralyze opponents, and its shed skin is considered an extremely valuable high-fashion item. And now we venture into some pseudo lines I had commissioned. If you want to help me commission more Pokemon like the ones you're about to see, become a member. You get benefits like seeing videos early, a shout out at the end of my videos, and the Art Mage tier directly funds for one Fakemon design a month, which you are credited for and given a high quality image of. So hit that join button to help me pay these lovely artists I work with for these videos and to keep this channel going. First up, we have two pseudo lines that I worked with the talented trainer Rex on. Check out their link in the description. The premise of a normal type pseudo was interesting to me because there are so many ways to represent that type. What I ultimately decided on was the most normal thing would be a dragon that could be a pet. So here is our base stage, Regtile, the common Pokemon, a normal dragon type. This little guy is based on a pet many lizard owners should know, the bearded dragon. Regtile also has this little collar to add to its whole pet aesthetic. Regtile is proof that big things come in small packages. It is a powerful Pokemon with the potential to become even more powerful in its evolutions. Speaking of, at level 30, Regtile evolves into Standrake, the common Pokemon. Upon evolution, this line gains the additional inspiration of yet another lizard that can be a pet, the aptly named Common Flying Dragon. This lizard is found across Southeast Asia and can use its wing-like extensions on its body to glide. Standrake may be a bit less common than Regtile, but still are a staple of many teams of the region it hails from. At level 45, Standrake evolves into Avragon, the average Pokemon. So now that we have the entire line shown, I can talk a little bit more about its concept. The idea was a fairly common pet evolving into the most stereotypical fantasy dragon ever. Like, look at Averagon and tell me that isn't the most dragony dragon Pokemon you've ever seen. Like it was ripped straight from the pages of the D&D player's handbook. Averagon's name comes from both average and dragon, but also comes from avarice, as typically dragons are greedy hoarders of gold and other treasures. Even though they are a lot more fierce and powerful than their previous stages, Averagon are still sometimes kept as pets, even acting like a big old dog, a real golden retriever energy type pet. Then moving on to the bug type, we have Spycrawl, the worm Pokemon, a bug dragon type. This little guy is based on the appropriately named dragon-headed caterpillar, given the horn-like protrusions coming from its head. It can be found from India all the way down to Indonesia. Spycrawl's horns can leave a burning sensation upon contact with them. It can last for days unless medically treated. At level 32, Spycrawl evolves into Crestalis, the horned Pokemon. Though caterpillars usually turn into butterflies, they look remarkably similar to grubs, which turn into the pupa of beetles. So Crestalis is based on the pupa stage of the rhinoceros beetle, which felt like a natural step up on the horned nature of its previous stage. In and of itself, Crestalis looked like the head of a dragon, which plays back into its previous stage's inspiration. It also mimics middle stage pseudos like Pupitar or Shelgon. This Pokemon's impenetrable body guards a truly terrifying behemoth beneath, and that behemoth is unleashed at level 48 when it evolves into Dracrown, the Monarch Pokemon. Two more bugs join the inspirations of this line. The Atlas Beetle, with its 3 horns stepping up from the previous stage's 2 horns, and the wings and general coloration are inspired by the dragon-headed bug, a type of lanternfly found in Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, and parts of Brazil. Also with its general head shape, it mimics many ceratopsians, adding to its already prevalent dragon typing, and the rhinoceros part of its previous stage, as many associate the two animals, though they have no confirmed relation. There are folktales about Dracrown's ability to breathe fire. Scientists have discovered that it spawned from its burning hot horn, which can give the appearance of being on fire, which, needless to say, you do not want to be touched by. Now for the last 3, we have the type trio usually held by starter Pokemon, which I worked with Trevenart on. Make sure to check out their link in the description. To start us off is the grass type, so allow me to introduce you to Petea, the fruit dragon Pokemon, a grass dragon type. Petea's name comes from petite, pet, and Petea, more commonly known to most as the dragon fruit. Many versions of a literal dragon fruit Pokemon have been done in the Fakemon community, so I wanted to try my hand at it with this pseudo line. Petea are incredibly energetic and playful creatures. Its fruity feathers can be steeped to make a revitalizing and refreshing tea. At level 32, Petea evolves into Luchea, the fight dragon Pokemon. Petea are native to southern Mexico, as well as Guatemala, Costa Rica, and El Salvador, so I felt it natural to incorporate some aspect of the culture from that area. So Trevin and I landed on Lucha Libre, a form of freestyle wrestling originating from Mexico. Halucha is obviously also based on this, but multiple Pokemon sharing origins but being handled differently is fairly common throughout this franchise. You can see the famous masks the sport is known for incorporated into Luchea and Petea's designs, and the vibrant colors of the dragon fruit made for a great reference to the colorful outfits of many wrestlers. Luchea are known for their high-flying antics and to use their bulky body to their advantage. This dex entry manifests in its new move called Dragon Press, which acts kind of like Body Press but would use the user's special defense stat instead of its attack stat when calculating damage, as Luchea's 2 main stats would be attack and special defense. At level 48, Luchea evolves into Quetzea, the flight dragon Pokemon. With a name and design like that, obviously the design is inspired by the Aztec god of life, light, and wisdom, Quetzalcoatl, who is most often depicted as a feathered, winged serpent. Just like Luchea, I wanted to bring in some form of Mesoamerican inspiration, given the area the dragon fruit is native to. I also felt the scales of the fruit felt kind of like feathers, which worked perfectly to build up to a winged serpent final stage. It still holds onto its high-flying luchador nature, with the pose looking like some famous acrobatic dives seen in Lucha Libre. Quetzea is known to soar over lush jungles, taking swift dives to crush their prey beneath their mighty body. I could really see this line working as the pseudo of some kind of Mexico region, and I'm very happy with how all the design elements came together. Next up is the water type. While doing research for the grass type, I came across a Vietnamese saying that I thought would make for an interesting Pokemon. The saying is a dragon's head, but a shrimp's tail, meaning something that starts off great but then ends poorly. So basically, Game of Thrones. That phrase also makes a great description for a water dragon type Pokemon. So here is Drimp, Drakimp, and Shrimrong. All of them have the category of the shrimp dragon Pokemon and are water dragon type. These 3 are not only inspired by the saying, but also by Vietnamese dragons or Rong, where Shrimrong gets part of its name. The coloration and lengthy body of Shrimrong are also meant to emulate the silk dragons used in dragon dances, as well as colorful shrimp species like the peacock mantis shrimp. Drimp and Drakimp live together in colonies. Only every once in a while does a Shrimrong come to visit. Once it does, it is treated with the highest honor. This behavior is inspired by another Vietnamese phrase, the dragon visits the shrimp's house, which dictates how you should behave when having guests in your home. The guest is a dragon, and you as the host are but a humble shrimp. Last but not least, we have the fire type. Dragons and fire. Like peanut butter and jelly, salt and pepper, the Nile crocodile, and Flat Friday. Why yes, that was a thinly veiled transition to meet this cutie. Meet Flatile, the mine Pokemon, a fire dragon type. As I said, this horizontally inclined little dude is inspired by the Nile crocodile, but it is also inspired by landmines and other explosive devices. Flatile remains stagnant for hours at a time, waiting for prey to pass over top of them before erupting fire out of the vents on their sides. Speaking of erupting, Flatile at level 30 evolves into Eruptile, the explosive Pokemon. This Pokemon's fiery body is well equipped for residing in extreme heat, such as the deserts it hails from and even the interior of volcanoes. The Nile crocodile inspiration is furthered with Eruptile into another African creature, the Ninkinanka, which was said to be a fearsome monster with the face of a crocodile, the neck of a giraffe, and a mix of the body of a hippo and snake. Taking a crocodile and evolving it into something that was part crocodile and almost draconic felt like a natural transition for the middle stage, which will make even more sense when at level 50 Eruptile evolves into Volcanosaur, the volcanic Pokemon. That long giraffe-like neck from the Ninkinanka is played up even further in this Pokemon to emulate the sauropod known as the Giraffatitan. Get it? Giraffatitan? I thought it was pretty clever. The Ninkinanka was also said to be able to breathe fire and smoke, or have a crest of fire atop its head. So Volcanosaur references this with the smoky plumes coming from its head, which also emulates its namesake, a volcano. Volcanosaur are titans of the Pokemon world. Their mighty heat is respected amongst fire-type Pokemon, and it is seen by many cultures as a harbinger of a fiery calamity. And that was a Dragon Pseudo-Legendary of every type. If you'd like to see a non-Dragon Pseudo-Legendary of every type, make sure to let me know in the comments. Thanks so much to our incredible members whose name you can see on screen for supporting this channel with their hard-earned money, which you can also do by hitting that join button. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.